Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Allen, joined by my usual broadcast partner, former NHL defenseman Tom Laidlaw, played 11 seasons for the New York Rangers and Los Angeles Kings. This is the Laidlaw and Allen Report, coming to you twice a week to talk all things hockey, although not the next 2 weeks. It'll only be Tom.
That's right. That's right. You'll be
I'm
gone.
on I'm going to sound like Chevy Chase, but European vacation, actually an Italian vacation. I'm going to Italy for 2 weeks, but I'll be back right about it. The real start of the season. It actually starts in Czechia. I almost called it the Czech Republic again.
Right.
But that'll be on the 7th and 8th. But the real season starts, I think, on the 13th or 14th.
Totally.
Someone in that. But I'll be back right around.
What was the old song from Chevy Chase's movie there, European Vacation?
Oh, geez, I don't know.
Yeah.
I should know that, but I don't.
Yeah. That was a great movie. That was funny. It was good.
Yeah. But anyway, a lot to talk about.
Yep.
I'm always. It just seems like it's a sign of that the season's upon us when we just have a rash of injuries hitting all the teams, and it hit again yesterday when it was announced that John Tavares, the captain of the Maple Leafs, will be out a minimum of 3 weeks. That sounds like in the 3 to 4 week range, but that obviously will take him into the start of the season. The Vancouver Canucks, the team that I think both of us like, have had 2 significant injuries. Brock Besser, 3 to 4 weeks. He's a proven goal scorer, and Mikheyev that they got from Toronto, who they project to score 20 goals for him again this season. He's out week to week. I never liked those week to week designations.
Yeah, in other words, they don't know.
Yeah, they don't have a clue. Yeah. And then Sean Couturier from the Philadelphia Flyers is already out week to week as well. And, of course, they've announced that Ryan Ellis is out for the season. Carter Hart isn't playing right now. I think they say he'll be out at least 3 preseason games, which doesn't sound too serious. But, this is a guy that really needs to get off to a good start. He had a rough ride last season. I don't think it was necessarily his fault. I thought he played better than he did the previous season. But, and then the Bruins, we've talked about them before. They're starting the season with McAvoy on the shelf, Marchand on the shelf, Graycheck on the shelf. So, they've got a lot of significant players that'll be out of the lineup. And in that division, in the Atlantic Division, you got teams like Ottawa. I just wrote yesterday, one of the questions is can the Senators make the playoffs? Well, I don't know that it's likely, but I think it's possible.
Sure.
Like, they're an improved team.
Yep.
I think Cam Talbot is really an underrated acquisition. We're all talking about Claude Giroux and Alex DeBrincat, but Cam Talbot.
Yeah, Cam Talbot, as Kevin's froze up here, they got from Minnesota. Yes, he's a good goaltender. He was here as a backup for Henrik Lundqvist with the Rangers, and really was a really good goaltender. Again, the consistency is the one issue you think we need to worry about. But he's back. He is back. The man is back. The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah. So anyway, injuries. Sorry
to interrupt you, but you do look a little bit like Chevy Chase right now too.
Oh, do I? Okay. Yeah. Well, I think we're roughly the same age, so.
We need to do some videos like
So, I brought him up this morning. So
yeah, there you go.
One of my favorite music videos that one with him and Paul Simon when they it's Chevy Chase is of course 6 foot forever, and he's like 6'6" or whatever, and Simon of course is very short. And I
didn't see that. I got to look that up.
It's a really good one. It's a good tune too. So, but it's just a good music.
I can call you Chevy Chase, right?
You can certainly do that. So, but you know how I feel about preseason games. I just, in saying that, I'm going to one tonight. I'm going to see the Red Wings and the Blackhawks play, and it will be. And this really brings home. It'll be 3 seasons. This will be the first time in 3 years that I've been in a locker room.
Oh,
because the locker rooms have been closed. I've gone to games, but we've had to, even though we were in the press box, we had to Zoom because they wouldn't let us in the locker room. So in the dressing room. So it's going to be weird. we're going to walk into the dressing room and players are going to look like, what are you people doing here? Like they're so used to having it's been closed for 2 seasons. So,
right. And I'm sure the players look at it like, oh God, they're back again. Those guys.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. So,
although I never minded the press being in there. I guess I was just so used to it. That's just the way it was. So, right.
Yeah, it's really changed since you played. There's less kibitzing allowed now. They tend to, the old days, guys would just kind of hang out in their stalls, and you'd go in and you wanted to talk to them about hockey, but you'd start out talking about their kids or what they did over the All-Star break or their new car. Whatever. You make small talk. You get to know these guys. You're there everybody's trying to do their job, but it's like an office environment. We were just part of the kind of office environment. But
you had more of a relationship with the reporters.
You do. I miss those days because I think that was the best. When we really kind of covered the team because we got inside. The players' heads a little bit, and they sort of understood our jobs a little bit. And you've told a great story about your relationship with Frank Brown when he had light you up a little bit.
Yes, he did.
And how you didn't like it at first, but understood. So,
well, eventually, he came to me. To his credit, he was a great man, or is a great man. He came to me and said, "Tom, listen, first of all, I have a job to do, and secondly, you're not playing very well."
Those are 2 truths there that you had to deal with.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's for sure. But anyway, so but I wanted to ask you about that. Just your thoughts on that. I mean, these injuries. I mean, these athletes now. I mean, they've always been valuable. I mean, you can't measure them by their salary, but now their salaries are so high. You're like, do you want to risk getting injuries in preseason games? I just, the Red Wings are playing 8 games, 8 preseason games. That seems like way too many.
Yeah, you brought it up there recently, and I never really thought about that much, but it does make a lot of sense. But I guess my only concern then is, okay, so if you don't play the preseason games, there's still going to be games that you have to play, so the injuries are then going to happen in the regular season games, right? Doesn't that, what I mean? It just kind of pushes it back.
Well, I mean, I guess what you're saying is because you're a little bit out of and not conditioned. You're still pretty well conditioned, but your timing's off.
Yeah.
So,
like these guys these days, man, their training is unbelievable. They're just in so much better shape. Again, we talked, and again, this is a long time ago, but we come into camp out of shape, so a lot of groin injuries. That was a big thing. Almost every guy hurt his groin at some point in training camp. And then we worked ourselves into shape. A lot of games. I remember playing like 11, 12 games, something like that sometimes. And again, and it wasn't always in the big arenas either. It was going around to smaller places, busing into some places. And I remember my first year pro, we were going up to play Boston at some place up in Massachusetts. And I'll never forget, our bus pulled up beside the Boston Bruins bus, and Stan Jonathan was hanging a moon, like mooning our bus. It's like, oh God, it's like Slapshot. It was really funny.
Well, speaking of that, John Tortorella on the opening day of training camp for the Flyers, because he's John Tortorella, skated them 27 minutes without the puck. And everybody thought that was totally outrageous. And I'm thinking that was just life in the 1980s.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I did you ever have to throw up in the
I never did, but there's quite a few guys that did.
Yeah, you threw up in the trash cans, right?
Totally,
that was just, you're done with the bag skate and you just go in there and just heave ho,
Did anybody ask Tortorella why he did that? Or I didn't see that.
No, but I think everybody knew. I mean, he had sent letters to all the players saying come in shape, and I sort of felt it was for show. Hi, I'm John Tortorella. You've heard about me, and whatever you've heard is true. And
it's also like, okay, people say he's not going to do that kind of stuff, and then he does it to say, yes, this is really the John Tortorella. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know, and everybody, like the Maple Leafs started out with a real hard skate. They didn't go 27 minutes. I went to the Red Wings. They did a lot of hard skating. They did Lalonde. His big thing is he has a lot of those compete drills, the one-on-one drills.
I like that.
Everybody, cheering you on like 2 gladiators in a ring. So guys don't like being shown up in that.
No.
Yeah. And so it gets a little intense. I know we ask. Simon Edmondson, he's the newest of the Red Wings prize draft picks, Heisman draft picks, and they really would like him to make the team this year. He's 6'6". But he's only a year out of being drafted. He's 19 years old, and we all know it takes a little longer for defensemen.
Oh, totally. Yes.
They figure it out.
And in the old days, it was like that 25-year-old player. That defenseman,
Right.
That's who he's going to be. I think that's a little younger now, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, Edmondson, and I love this kid's honesty too, because he just told us right up. We had just asked him what he thought of those one-on-one drills. He goes, "Well, when we were done, Captain Dylan Larkin said, you got to compete harder in those drills.
Really?
This is the real deal now. Like
That's good leadership. That's good leadership right there.
Yeah, he said he made it clear that I need to work harder in those drills. That's the real deal. So
those are two good signs, right? Good leadership there, and good that the kid recognized. I don't need to work hard. Yeah, let's go.
And you know who everyone raved about in those drills?
No,
your kind of player, Ben Sherratt.
Oh,
Ben Sherratt, 230 pounds. Apparently, he was a beast in those drills.
Oh,
so
I like that.
Yeah. So. That's what people have been talking about Sherratt. There's the thought that he might play with Moritz Seider. So, you're going to have Moritz Seider, who's, fears no man.
Oh, he's great. I love watching his highlight tapes when he runs over.
Yeah.
People. Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, and what I say about him, and I think it's hard for people to understand. Like, he got 50 points last year, 40 some assists and 7 goals,
right.
And he didn't take any chances.
Yeah.
Like he got 50 points just playing defense the way he knows how to play defense.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, because he's you saw it like if they were playing in overtime, like they put Seider, Lucas Raymond, and Larkin out to start in overtime.
Yeah.
Because those boys can skate and Seider can handle the puck. He's got magic. He's got magic in his hands. So
he's good. Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, wait till he starts taking some chances, and he'll put up some real points. But the idea of Sherratt and him, right shot, left shot, and both of them physical, but Sherratt taking care of business, giving license to for Seider to move up. But a couple other things that I wanted to talk about a little bit was Chychrun. There's been that hasn't died. Chychrun has said, I'd like to go to a contender, and and the Coyotes have been clear. Well, we're not going to move off our demands, although it seems like they've moved a little bit off, or maybe it's just the interpretation of what they want.
Did they start off wanting to trade him? Is that what started the whole thing?
Yeah, they said they were willing to trade him.
Oh, but so he'd asked for the trade, and they said they're willing to do
it. No. He didn't. I don't think he asked for it originally, but now he has asked for a trade. He said, enough of this. Let's just trade it, but send me to a contender. Let me try to win.
That is odd when you've got a good player like that, and it's open that you're shopping him around trying to see what you can get for him. I mean, that's kind of. They're trying to think if I'm a player and I'm sitting in the locker room, I know they're trying to move me. It's part like you want to be part of the team, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's sort of bad form. But we're to blame. We're us being the journalists. Because we're always digging around trying to find out who's going to be dealt. So it's not easy to keep all that quiet. Although Lou Lamoriello and Steve Yzerman managed to do it.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
So,
you kind of wondered, like, didn't who's the coach? It's awful. Who was the GM of the Rangers when they won? It's awful.
When they
Neil Smith.
Yeah.
So the story was that he always used to try to float the rumors out there to see what the reaction was.
Trial ballooning, yeah. No, I mean, a lot of GMs do that, and to be honest with you, some GMs enjoy the game.
Yeah.
And Phil Esposito, when he was a GM, loved the game.
Yeah, he did.
There's great stories of that now have been told about him now that he's no longer in it, where he would pass along a rumor like, hey, there's talk maybe we can move so and so for so and so, and the reporters there in Tampa would write those rumors, but none of them would ever come to pass. And one of the team officials went up to Phil one day and he goes, "Hey, whatever happened to that trade, deal that got floated in the paper? I'm assuming they got it from you." And he goes, "Oh, yes, I've been meaning to call Bobby Clarke on that and see what he thinks about that." He had never even made the call yet. He just put it in because that's the deal he wanted to make.
I used to see Phil doing that too. That's funny. Hey,
Yeah.
I didn't realize 50 years ago was the Summit Series, Canada versus Russia, that famous series.
You just realized that, considering
I did.
everybody in the world is doing documentaries and 50th anniversary stories.
I live in thoroughly blissful ignorance. I don't watch the TV very much or anything like that. So
yeah, but you read. I know you read a lot.
Yeah, I know, and that's where I found out about it. Was in the
it's been everywhere.
Did you watch all the series?
I saw it when I was a kid. I mean, live. Yeah, I mean, I saw games when I was a kid for sure. Yeah. And I remember that Phil Esposito. And
Phil lectured the whole country of Canada there when
and I'm going to clean this up because this is a family podcast. But I saw someone on social media. And it really made me laugh because there was some truth, not some truth, a lot of truth to this. The guy was saying, he goes, as I'm watching this documentary and reading what people have had to say about this, it occurs to me that, and he watched it. I said, when I watched it when they was young, he said, those guys were the horrible people. And he goes, now as I read what really happened, he says, I think we were the jerks. Like, the arrogance of totally discounting the skill level of the.
I'll never forget that because it's set up as the Summit Series was just nobody really cared who won because obviously the Canadians thought they were going to win. First game, they lose to the Russians. And man, it was like it became such a big story. We were in school, I think, for it might have been the final game, and we didn't have to go to class. We went to the cafeteria. They set up big TVs so we could watch the game and everything. So
well, and the fact that Bobby Clarke was sent out to injure Harlamov, and it's only been in recently that you've actually heard people that think that really wasn't really very sportsmanlike.
No. But back then, no, that was like
that was standard operating procedure.
So Paul Henderson being the big hero, scoring all the goals and everything too.
But that was a tight series. That was 4-3-1. Yep. Canada won it, but
I remember that was the story because it was such a close series. We were thinking, Canada's going to win all 8 games, and all of a sudden now the Russians. How about Phil Esposito when he stepped on the flower going out in Russia there too? The little bow and fell down. That's funny.
Yeah, it's just the whole series, and that was, I was so fortunate being a guy that really enjoyed hockey that I grew up, in a border area. I grew up in the Detroit area, which means I had hockey night in Canada. I had Canadian media.
That's right.
So it was like I was part of Canada. Not really, but our accents are similar in Michigan to Canadian.
Get out, eh? I remember, and that was the thing when I first came to training camp with the Rangers and Phil was there. I remember watching that series, the 72 Summit Series, and all of a sudden I'm in the same locker room and on the same ice as Phil. That was the big thing, like, holy smokes, because he was just a legend then, right? Getting up in front of the country and lecturing everybody.
Yeah, he was, everybody remembers when Gretzky sort of rewrote the rule or the record book and with scoring and everything.
Yeah.
But before Gretzky, Esposito's scoring was off the charts. He scored 76 goals or something.
Yeah, one season. Yeah.
Yeah, and people just thought that's just nuts. That's crazy. And then all of a sudden, Gretzky came along and everybody said, wow, how can this possibly be?
Yeah.
Esposito was it.
Totally.
I still remember the T-shirts, Jesus Saves, but Esposito.
I was just thinking about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody loved those T-shirts.
Would he and his brother Tony be the two most dominant players, brother-wise? Has there been? I know the two Hull brothers, but Dennis wasn't.
Yeah. Dennis was a good player, but he was not a great player. And both Phil and Tony obviously were great players. The Sutters, but just hardworking guys. We're probably forgetting someone, but how about the Richards?
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah. The Pocket Rocket and the Rocket. So, I'm trying to think who else was in there. There was the family.
I bet Susan's going to come up with something. Susan Brooks is going to come up with
Yeah. There's always danger when you're doing these live shows, and because your mind just forgets people,
Yeah,
and then like an hour from now,
Oh,
I'll be going, oh, geez,
Yeah,
how do we forget those guys?
here's a good one. Our boy Mike Stasny Brothers. That's a good one. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's good, but I don't think they were quite as good. Nor,
How about Mahavliches? Peter and
yeah,
Frank.
Frank is great, but Peter was not. I mean, he was just a good, solid player. So,
Interesting.
um,
Hey, how about her? Have you ever been in a hurricane? Like you living where you are?
no. I mean, I've never seen one like it, but I've been fascinated. Before I went on this podcast, they were talking about that one of the Sedins. That is just a great one.
Yeah,
Both of them high level players. I would still, I would say they're on par with Esposito, but the uniqueness of Tony being a goalie and Phil being a center, I might give him over there. But give it to Sue. She's right on top of it. Yeah,
Cool. I knew it.
these are. I mean, they're both. I mean, Hall of Fame. Both brothers sets are Hall of Famers. So but they have the novelty of being twins. So
I know that is true.
Yeah. So I mean, they're on par with them. That's great.
Susan are probably in the same category. Susan and her brother Larry Brooks.
Larry, they're Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
in their own way.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. So, now I've forgotten the point we were talking about.
Talk about hurricanes. Saying you were watching.
Oh yeah, before I came on, they had one of those. I forgot what they're called. They fly into the eye of the hurricane. Those planes. There's a name for them. And they had just recorded like an hour before that the top wind speed at the top above the hurricane is 189 miles per hour. And then inside they recorded 149 and 151, I think they said. So that's remarkable.
I got some friends that are right down there, and they say they're staying in their homes. So I was kind of surprised they didn't move.
Yeah, we've got good friends in St. Petersburg. Now the 149, 150 is south of them. But they're going to get some of it. But I saw a report today, and this is all the things you never think about. Like, we've all watched those weathermen standing out in the middle of those hurricanes, and you're wondering, is a sheet of metal going to fly by and knock them down. But one of them brought up a point. He pointed to a construction site that was in St. Petersburg, and there was a giant crane on top of it. This crane is, 200 feet into the air. Yeah. And he goes, not only that, he said, but there's all kinds of equipment up there. Yep. He says, the question people are asking is, because there's a lot of loose stuff just hanging around on top of the roof. Yep. When it comes in and it's 100 plus mile per hour, is all that stuff going to hold? Is it going to,
Well, that happened here in New York when we had Sandy a few years ago, and the cranes did come down in a couple of cases. Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, that's a struggle there. So, yeah. And the other interesting fact I just saw was there is 1.3 million meals that have already set up in Alabama for the relief of in Florida.
Oh, wow.
They've had it all ready to go. 1.3 million meals. Now I'm sure those are military style meals, but a meal is a meal.
So who do you think went around counted all those? Is there one person who went around counted?
I think they just know. I think the Army probably put out a press release saying we've contributed 1.3 million meals. That's but they've got all this and it's at a site. Right. So
because I do like accuracy, right? I do need to know that is the actual number. Like, is that 1.2 million?
Well, I doubt whether they've gone out and counted them. But I'm sure they've got a pretty good guess. But I always wondered why we didn't. In Michigan we had some military bases that closed. One in particular up near Alpena, Ward Smith base, had been there for a long time, and I wondered why we didn't convert some of those into areas where you store, helicopters and things, and meals and medical supplies and things that could be, immediately airlifted out and go to the problem areas. Like they'd become like a civilian style base where, and I'm sure there are some of those. That's why you've got a place where there's, more than 1 million meals.
1.3, exactly 1.3.
Yeah, exactly. So. Like, are you bothered by that, Tom? You seem
Well,
to be.
I like accuracy, and I just think sometimes people make these statements about like how much there is. Like we did a show one time talking about turtles, and there had some numbers, and we thought, well, who went out and counted all the turtles?
Yeah.
Like how do you estimate like when it's something like that, and you've got a couple of million is the number, and it's something like turtles. Like how do you come up with that number that there's 2 million turtles?
Yeah. Speaking of just weird facts. Now, you're going to appreciate this fact because I know the way you think.
Yes.
But I just read this. So, we've all seen we got to get back to hockey too.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will.
We'll know this. Yeah. But this is predatory, so it's sort of hockey.
Right.
So anyway, I was reading that, we've all seen these documentaries, National Geographic, when the lioness takes down the zebra as they're running, down in through the open fields.
Right.
But I was reading is that many times there are lionesses that walk very close to the zebras and they just leave them alone. And the zebras will just be eating and they'll just continue to eat because both of them know when a lioness is hungry. So a lioness will only attack when everybody needs to eat, and zebras tend to know when hungry lionesses are around.
How does the zebra know?
It's part of their, of the evolution of human or in this case, animal nature. They just sense all that, and so like it's been captured and documented. You probably don't believe it, but it's been documented that zebras immediately sometimes they start running like crazy when lionesses come by, and other times they just keep eating because those lionesses either don't look hungry or aren't putting out a scent, or that's probably what it has to do with it. But
you don't think the lioness is smart enough to maybe pretend that she's not hungry and then get close to the zebra and then attack?
Well, I mean, I don't think that they're just like they're not reading the zebras are not reading press releases, So the lioness is not putting out a press release saying, we're not hungry, so you can just go about your business.
But by her actions, though, right? I mean, the lion.
Yeah. Well, I think I would bet that it has something to do with smell. Like they don't smell hungry. I mean, I'm just totally guessing because I really don't know. But
it's good though. I like that.
So, but anyway, it's just a bizarre fact that I read. I thought that's just crazy. But the point of all that is that animals eat when they're hungry, and humans have many different reasons for eating. So
see, and that's a very interesting point because we used to be like that because food was not always available. There's no refrigerators, no stores, so we ate. That's where fasting really began, right? Where people wouldn't eat for days because they didn't have any food.
Yeah, they weren't able to do that.
Now our brains have been brainwashed by television and commercials to think that food is a source of comfort and joy.
Yeah, well, comfort for sure. And people see it as a reward. They see it as all kinds, and to you, it's fuel.
Yeah,
just fuel.
Yeah, it's for nutrition. Yep.
So although you kind of border on, it's also entertainment for you. You enjoy cooking, so you kind of move into that. That realm. So
I get entertainment out of a lot of things now too. Did you see the video of me when I was dancing on the beach?
No, I didn't see that. So you've become so the dancing that you did at the Rangers games has really turned in you. Do you go clubbing now? I mean,
no clubbing. No, it's all done in the kitchen, on the beach, in the gym. Yeah, no clubbing. Now I've actually started to move my hips too. Now I've evolved. I've gotten better and better. So in this video, I was dancing on the beach, filmed it, jumped up in the air, spun around, landed on the beach, and smacked my ass.
Wow.
And
that was just like the exclamation point of dance is over, or what?
Didn't know where it was coming from or why I was going to do it.
Wow. Was there music or?
Yeah. No music. No, that's the thing. No music.
Just in your head.
Just
in your head.
There's a lot of things going on in that head now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to hockey.
Okay.
Let's identify some sleepers here, and I want to run some teams by you and think that. This first team was a playoff team, but nobody talks about them. Okay. Not whatsoever. The Dallas Stars. Are they worthy to be called a sleeper? I mean, it's the same. A lot of the cast members are the same.
Yeah.
So,
I think I have a problem like with Jamie Benn doesn't seem to be the same player he was. He's still the leader there and everything. It seems like he and Tyler Seguin just really haven't been the players they were in the past. Now maybe that changes. For some, you know what? I think they're a good team. I would not call them a sleeper though.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of weird. So if they do well, and I don't think they're a good team, then obviously they're a sleeper, right?
Well, do you think they're going to make the playoffs?
I don't. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you?
So you think they're worse than last year?
Yeah, I kind of felt like last year was a surprise they made the playoffs. I just didn't like that team. But again, the year before that, they went to the finals, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
But that was, that's one of those, sports are sports type years for them. Where, there's no explanation. That's why, we talk about this all the time. But one of my greatest amusements in my 40 some years of being a sports writer is how sure people are about what they know.
Yeah.
And I spent my life in this business,
right.
and I never believe I have any idea what's going on because I've seen too much.
Yeah. And nobody ever would have thought that Vegas was going to go to the Stanley Cup Final.
No, and all this kind of stuff. But people are sure, and when they're right, because they got a 50-50 chance. When they're right, they'll say, "I told you." I knew. But they never say, "Boy, was I wrong." I just missed that one, or very, very seldom. But people always talk about sports in declarative sentences.
Yes.
So just like you always say, Jack Eichel is not a good hockey player. There's no doubt in it.
Now. He's a good hockey player, but I just don't think he's getting the most out of his career.
Yeah. I exaggerated that a little bit.
So. And I don't like his attitude either. So that's a big knock.
But anyway, okay. So no sleeper on Dallas. Did you got a team that you want to call a sleeper?
Oh, make the playoffs that nobody thinks is going to make the playoffs. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong in this. I don't think too highly of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So if they were to make it, I would call that a sleeper. Now, again, I could be wrong. I've heard other people be really high on Columbus's lineup, but it doesn't seem to be that good to me.
You know what I like about, the Gaudreau acquisition is he's going to play with Patrick Laine.
Right.
Boy, could that be entertaining. Laine was so good in the second half of last season.
Oh, was he? I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you remember, he had the injury, and then he came back, and there was one spurt where he had 20 some points in 10 games. Like he was just crazy.
Yeah.
I think people, even the Blue Jackets, wondered whether they would sign him because his reputation is that he just wasn't going to live up to expectation. Now, I think they really wish they could get him signed.
Okay. See, I didn't understand that. I didn't know he'd done that well. Yeah. And again, I know Gaudreau put up some big numbers last year, but I kind of still wonder with that, is that just a good year or is that who he is?
Right? Well, he's had good numbers for a long time.
But not that good though, right?
No. Well, I think he had 1 year like that, but here's the one thing. And, and I know I think this is an important stat, but he led the NHL in even strength points.
Yeah, you said that before. Yes, yeah.
I mean that is that's a significant statistic. That's better than Connor McDavid. Better than Draisaitl.
Yeah.
Better than Huberdeau. I think those are comparable players, Huberdeau and Gaudreau. But I just wrote the other day, if you made me say who I think's going to have the better season, I'm going to say Gaudreau, just because, I think playing with Laine, when you have a guy like Laine that can just shoot it from anywhere within the offensive zone.
He does have a cannon.
Oh, he's got a cannon. Yeah. So, but
you're really thinking about sleepers now. That's a pretty interesting question. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Senators are a sleeper. I think people will all recognize, the improvement when you add, look who they added: DeBrincat, Giroux, and Cam Talbot.
Yeah.
So you've improved goaltending. Your top six, with Stutzla, and Brady Tkachuk. You've added some significant players here.
Right.
So their big question is their defense. So if Jake Sanderson, who has signed out of college, if he is going to be like a Moritz Seider, Adam Fox type impact player young, then, who knows what they could do this year. But
well, have you heard much about Tyler Boucher? He left college and then went and played.
They're real high on him. They think he'll play next year, not this year. But I have heard that they're very high on him. So
So
yeah,
everybody knows that's Brian Boucher's son. Brian Boucher, that
yeah,
I've represented, is on TV now. Does a great job on TV, actually, too.
yeah, he does a tremendous job, and they like he's kind of to show you what I mean. Like he's projected not to be a top 6 forward, but they still wanted him in the first round because that's how valuable they see him.
Yeah,
He's just a
big kid, too,
hard nose. Yeah, hard to play against. Just you win with guys like him. That's the.
Do we call the Islanders, if they make the playoffs, is that a sleeper?
I don't think so. But we talked about this the last time about whether you can improve your offense without changing any of the players, just with the coaching strategy. Yeah. So,
But I have heard that coach was doing most of the coaching, anyways. Is what a lot of people say. That Barry Trotz really wasn't. They obviously let him go. So, but
well, they must not have liked what was going on. That's for sure.
I should say, because Barry Trotz is your relative, so I shouldn't really.
Yeah. So, you don't think Barry's a good coach? Is he a candidate to coach your team?
He had all those years, and I like the man. He's a fantastic person. So I want to be careful when I say this, but he had all those years in Nashville where, they were good, but never got him over the top. And all of a sudden they win one year, and it just seemed like he's had 1 year in Washington where they won the cup, and all of a sudden his coaching, and I guess this is what happens, but his coaching resume went off the charts all of a sudden. I think he's a good coach, but
the Islanders had 2 strong playoff runs before.
Yeah, very true. But again, this is debatable, right? How much of that was coaching? And this is with any case, right? How much of it is coaching and how much of it is the players, right?
Well, but they didn't get there anywhere before he got there, the Islanders. So,
well, they won those cups 80. I'm kidding.
42 years ago, Tom.
I know. I'm kidding. And that's a good point too. Al Arbor is coach. So, I guess the answer to the question is it's got to be everything, right? You have to have the smart coach and you have to have the players.
Yeah. No, you're right. It does have to be everything, and it's never one thing, as the popular saying goes. That's for sure.
Did I tell you? I talked about it before the show. I bought myself a drone. I told you that, right?
Right.
Got to learn how to fly it. Did you fly it in the house first, like fly around the house first to see you get used to it, or?
Well, I think you had the right plan. You need to get out in the open spaces because you need to learn how to control it. My friends that have them have spent a lot of time with them, so they're very comfortable just setting them for where they want them to go, and then they just hurl them in the air and they're gone.
It's got all this stuff where it follows me. It can follow me around, and it's got like GPS on it and all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're talking about the usage of these things. Like, and to me, it just seems like we're headed for chaos. That Amazon is going to deliver packages.
Yeah, I heard that.
So are we going to just look up everywhere we go, and there's just going to be drones everywhere? Because a lot of packages get moved in this country. So
that's true. Yeah, that's true. But having all the cars that drive themselves and everything too, I'm not too high on that. I don't like that idea at all.
Well, and how about you're going to deliver pizzas that way? We all seen the commercials where they'll just,
But I guess it's new stuff. Who would have thought like 50 years ago about cell phones and computers and everything, right?
Yeah. When I started covering the NHL, we didn't have cell phones.
Totally.
Yeah. How did we ever get a hold of anybody?
Isn't that true? It didn't seem like life was even like having a remote control on the TVs. I remember as a kid that first came out. It's like, wow, that's a big deal. You don't have to get off the couch to change the channel. We're lazy.
Yeah, but there was really no reason to change channel because you only had 4 of them. Or 3 of them.
You only had 2 on the farm. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You just stuck it on that channel. It was there. So.
Yeah.
I still remember watching the movie Pork Chop Hill with the rabbit ears, and in order to get it in, it was actually I was getting it from Channel 9 out of Windsor, and the reception wasn't very good, and I had to hold the antenna, and so I was like 18 inches in front of the TV. I watched an entire movie like that.
Right.
Just standing.
Remember, you just put that tinfoil on the antenna. Yeah. Is it purposeful? Is it actually better reception? Is that?
Yeah, that was the whole idea, and coat hangers to extend the length of them. Yeah, I remember one year my cousin, who owned his own home, he wanted to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving, and they were home. They weren't sold out, so he had the only way he could get it is out of Cleveland, from Detroit to Cleveland. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, and so he went to Radio Shack. This would have been in the early 70s, 71, maybe 70.
Right.
And we bought this extra antenna that was larger, and then we went on the Wednesday before, and it had been snowing.
Right.
So we went on the roof. We
Yep.
shoveled the roof off and got up and installed this antenna
Yep.
so we could watch the Lions out of a Cleveland station. And it was, it was literally snowing, and the picture was snowy
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
because we didn't have.
Remember, had that flat cable that you'd run down too. That flat cable, you have to run it down. It wasn't a coaxial cable like they got now or anything.
Oh, and I know. Though,
Yeah.
everything was hard back then. So
I know, but you think about it, it's a great statement. You think about it, it wasn't hard back then. It just was.
No.
It was the way it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just the way you had the kind of
first color TV we ever had. Oh, that was a big deal. Oh.
Yeah, well, in our area, it was a different cousin, but a cousin nonetheless. He bought the first color TV in 1964, first one in our family.
Oh,
and there weren't many things on television that were in color, if you remember, in the early.
Yeah.
So, like our entire extended family, my grandma had 15 kids, would go to their house on Sunday night to watch Bonanza in color.
Bonanza, yes, with Haas and Billy Joe.
Haas, Little Joe,
Yeah.
So all that. So, but I do remember all that. You actually checked the TV guide to see what was in color. Because
even the TV guide now. That's funny. Oh, God.
Well, I remember telephone books as well. So
yeah. That's true. The old phone on the wall and everything.
Yeah, I just watched a show where it was actually one of those murder, Dateline style things. It wasn't Dateline, but it was like that. Yeah. And it was about a murder in the 1980s, and he got into the person's house by saying that he needed to borrow their phone book. Oh. And I'm watching that thinking, if you went in and asked now, can I use your phone book? They'd go, what? What's that?
Yeah, true. Yeah. I saw great videos from young kids that are trying to figure out how to use the rotary telephone, and they had no clue how to use that.
Yeah. I remember my grandmother. This would have been in the late 60s. She had the rotary phone. It was on the wall. She was in her 80s, and some family member, I'm not sure who, went out and got her one of those long cords so that she could wander around the house and talk to her family.
Yeah.
But grandma would never do that. So that cord would hang down. She would get a chair and then just put her back against the wall by her phone. And then, when you saw her in that chair, you knew that she was dug in for the night. And whoever was on that the line was going to be on that phone for a good hour plus, So
it is funny thinking back about those things, right? How different the life was back then. Oh.
Yeah. A couple other things to talk about in hockey before we sign off here.
Chevy Chase has got to get to Europe.
Yeah, no, but we talked about the injuries. I wanted to talk about that, and then we talked about Chychrun, which is I didn't bring up what I thought. That's going to end up happening is it'll be first round pick, a really good young player. Like they wanted Pinto out of Ottawa, and Ottawa said, no, we're not going to do that. Right. And then another player, a proven player. So, people originally thought they wanted 4 assets, but I'm told it might be like 3, but it's 3 really good assets.
Yeah.
So.
And I have talked to some scouts that they don't think he's a bad player by any means, but they're not as high on him as some people say. They're concerned about some inconsistency with him too. That's one scout that I spoke to. That's not.
Yeah, but I think it would really help Ottawa. I mean, Ottawa, that's their one Achilles is they don't have decent defense. So anyway, we appreciate you tuning in and listening to our half hockey, half whatever else we want to talk about show. But at some point, we're going to get all into hockey because the season's going to roar, and we're going to be out there talking about it. But I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I'll probably have some tales of my wife and I gallivanting around northern Italy. And
you'll be posting on Facebook, I'm assuming, yes?
Yeah, we will, for sure.
All right. Have a great trip there, Chevy.
All right. Sounds good.
Anybody want to listen to the radio version of this show, you can go to radio.co at 365 Sports. Everybody have a great week. End.